Good morning, Giants. Have you ever wondered how to handle your shadow values? Good morning, Giants. Ryan Morris is up in the mountains today, so it's just me, and my topic is going to be on shadow values. Before we dive into that, coming up on September 9th, I will be doing a 90-minute course, free course on this topic and the 12 journeys. So if you can join me there, please do. Today, we're going to talk about the values that we hold, because the values are kind of at the core of everything. When you look at a value is that thing that is important, that you hold as important. And so when we're born into this world, the values that we develop generally are handed to us by those that are our caregivers. And so whatever they hold as valuable or important, they pass that on to us. And that becomes foundational for the values that we build later in life. Now, values are the things that kind of drive us. They're underneath everything that we do. We base all of our beliefs on there, and then we make our predictions and our judgments about the world from that space of what we value. The challenge is that two people can hold the same value. Let's say that, let's use money as an example. Let's say two people value money, but they have two different beliefs about money. One believes that money is evil and challenging and hard to come by, and the other believes that it is abundant and easy to come by and available everywhere. It's one of those things that the value hasn't changed, but the beliefs around that value have changed, and it creates a completely different outcome for both people. Now, when we talk about values in companies will create values that what one author, let me see if I can pull this up, Alexandra Joyce Smith, I'm going to share this if I can. She has a list of values that she put up on her blog. And I think it's phenomenal because it goes into not only the golden values. Let me just see if you guys can see this. It goes into the golden values, which are the values we want the world to see. But she talks about the shadow values, the things we don't want the world to see. In an article by Ethics, let me just see the company name, ethics.org. They talked about Volkswagen, and on the surface, Volkswagen has these values, these golden values that the world sees as, say, we believe in family and commitment and integrity and all these things. And then on the inside, what's really at play is their shadow value that says we will manipulate the information, we will cheat, we will steal, we will create fear among our employees. And it created an environment where there was a misalignment with what was seen by the world and what was going on internally, and what showed up in the world was what was going on internally. So often we try and hide what's going on within us, those shadow values, those things we don't want the world to know. Alexandra Jones Smith, or Joy Smith, says that some of the shadow values include attention, belonging, control, sexuality, superiority, validation, and money. And then the golden values on the opposite side of that, she lists out appreciation, meaning, freedom, love and connection, evolution, inspiration, and service. And these are kind of opposites of those things that were considered shadow values. Carl Jung, he says that man is, on the whole, less good than he imagines himself or wants to be. So as you look at this, he really says that on the inside, we've all got some dark stuff running. And there's this misalignment with that and what we show to the world. So we might go out and say, yeah, I'm a good person, but then we go cheat our neighbor, or we do something that hurts somebody else. Oh yeah, I'm a great person, but I'm going to make this person cry over here. I've noticed in my own life where I have misalignments with my shadow values and my golden values, the ones I show to the world and the ones that are running internally. I love Carl Jung because he dives into the shadow. He says this, he says, to confront a person with his own shadow is to show him his own light. It's really in the shadows that we gain our light. Let me talk about this a little bit. It's because those shadows are a part of us. They're just as much a part of us as the light the light things, the golden things that we hold as valuable, as important. And so when we can really dive in and just be with what is in all levels, the good, the negative, however you want to label it, the useful, the unuseful would probably be a more proper term for this. But when you can hold space for that and create this awareness around it and bring it to the surface and create acceptance and grief and gratitude for what is and step into the unknown, these are part of the 12 journeys. You can start to transform it into something more impactful for your life. But until we're willing to step into the darker side and admit that that's present and bring it to the surface, we're going to have a really hard time aligning in the world, because that will always be at play. If we say that we are, that we value money, let's say as an example, or we value relationship, but we say that on the surface, we value relationship, but on the inside, we value sex, right? Then what's going to show up is the internal driver more than what we say. It's going to be what we are running as an operating system on the inside. We might say on the surface, I believe that relationships are easy and phenomenal and long lasting, and they should go forever, and all these things that we say out here. But internally, it's, I want to be over here and there, and I want to be sleeping around or whatever it might be. And that drives us. And then what shows up in the world is that. And so to deny that we have those running within us really keeps us from showing up powerfully in the world. What we want to do is not necessarily act fully on those, but recognize that they're there and find a way to bring them into alignment with what we would like to create for ourselves. One of the things I hold dear is the value of giving people space to be themselves. That's one of the values I say on the surface. There's a misalignment with that inside of me, as there's judgments that come up within me. And so those judgments might overrule that idea and that concept. And so bringing that to the light, not denying it, takes away the shame and gives me a space to work on bringing that judgment and mellowing it or moving it over into a space of acceptance. I hope that makes sense. It's the shadow values rule. They're what dictate what shows up in our world. And so until we recognize them, it's not the good golden values that we want to change. Often it's the shadow ones, the ones we're ashamed of. It's the upsets, the place where we don't want to go. We don't want people to know what's going on inside of us. And it's not a matter of just doing full disclosure and telling everything about yourself to the world. It's a matter of recognizing that they're at play and giving grace to them and space. Brene Brown says that, when you are vulnerable and tell kind of on yourself in a way and share what's going on within you, then you become more authentic and you don't feel that shame and you're able to move forward. It's that idea that when we accept ourselves fully, including our shadow selves, then we can start to grow in ways we've never expected. Philip Zimbardo, in his work, he talks about in his book, The Lucifer Effect, that all of us are capable of great evil. Some of us just hide it a little better. I see people that hide it, and on the surface, they're saying all the right things, but on the inside, there's stuff that's showing up that just doesn't align with what they're saying. I do that in certain cases. So there are things that I'll say, and then the way I show up says, no, that's not really at play. The underlying value and belief that's really at play is the shadow. And so really just be with that. Are you in alignment with what you're telling the world, with what's going on inside of you? Is it the same? Is there integrity between them? The delta or the difference between what you say you'd like to see in the world and what's going on within you is where there's a chance to move that towards where what you say becomes what is, if that makes sense. So I'm fumbling through this a little bit because this is a newer concept for me. I'd never thought of shadow values. I'm really diving into value work because values are foundational to our beliefs, and our beliefs determine what we see as far as in the world, as far as thoughts go and emotions and perceptions. And so based on those beliefs, that's what we're going to speak into the world, and that's what we're going to create. And so if our values are misaligned, If our values are misaligned and what we hold as sacred or important and the truths that we hold on to are misaligned, then we're going to have a hard time creating what we say we want in the world. There's going to be a conflict. And so bringing those into alignment is the goal. And so if you can, just pause for a minute, really look at your values. What do you hold dear? What do you hold as important? And what are the beliefs that you hold around those? Are they in alignment with what you're saying you're doing in the world, or are they not? And if not, bring them into alignment. Find a way to bring them into that space where what you say to the world is the same as what's going on inside of you, and have some acceptance for what's going on inside of you. We all have dark things, all of us. And so when you can embrace that, like Carl Jung says, you can embrace your light. So that's my thought for the day. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I don't know if that made sense. I feel like I kind of rambled a little bit there. But embrace your shadow values as much as you do your golden ones. Embrace the ones that you hide from the world as much as the ones that you share with the world, because they are completely a part of you, and work to bring all of your values into alignment with what shows up in the world. So make it a giant day. I'll see you in the next video.